Can you give us some background, just a little bit about you?
Yeah, so I'm from Richmond, Virginia. I'm an illustrator, cartoonist, designer. I've been drawing since forever. Literally like since I was a kid. And started like getting into writing and stuff. I went to VCU. I studied kinetic imaging and communication arts, which is pretty much like digital media and illustration and design, in hopes to essentially like own a production studio of my own, or like to work with Adult Swim. Those are like the big goals. So
Okay, nice.
yeah, that's pretty much it for the background info, I guess.
Yeah, okay. Well, when did you fall in love with art?
That's a good question. So I guess I really started to like look at it as a passion maybe around the time uh I say maybe around like seventh grade. Um like I said, I've always been into art, and so like in elementary school, like I knew I could draw, so it was always just something that I did for fun, like along with playing video games and stuff. But I didn't really start thinking about it as like a career path or a life path um until I got to middle school, and it was time to consider like my high school options. The county I grew up in, they had specialty centers around the district. So like if you had a specific interest in something, you could apply to get into one of the programs within the county. They had one for art, and my mom suggested I try to get into it because she thought it would be a cool opportunity for me. And so I did. And in eighth grade, I had to apply with like a portfolio and stuff. And so, like, I guess like that entire like eighth grade year, I was kind of like prepping for that. And I didn't really know where it would take me. But then I got in. And so, like, high school was where I really started to gain like a really big interest in it. And I was like, all right, I'm getting really good at art. I'm like really starting to understand how art works, and I couldn't really see myself doing anything else after high school. So I figured I'd just try to carry out art until it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have a favorite medium that you like to use?
So, ooh, so it switches. Um, Primarily, like at first, like when I really started getting into art, um, well, okay, so around like 2013, from like 2013 to like 2018, I was really big into marker. That's where like a lot of my I think that's like the medium that helped me gain a lot of traction, just like visibility on the internet. And but I've also really been into like digital art and pen and ink and painting. So I kind of try to dabble in as many mediums as possible. Haven't really gotten much into like sculpture or like crafts. But though I would love to explore those mediums as well. But yeah, it's mainly marker and digital at this point.
Okay, nice. Why do you create?
For a lot of reasons. The biggest one is to really, I guess, like stay true to myself. I oftentimes rely on creativity. I don't want to say a coping mechanism, but it's like any other, if I can't think of any other way to kind of like deal with a stressful situation, then I'll rely on art, because that's the biggest thing that puts me in a peace of mind, for real, for real. Like I never create out of art stresses me out, but it never it's never a bad stress, if that makes sense. Like
Mhm.
there are times where I'm like working on projects where I don't want to work on it, but it's never harming me. Like it never creating never puts me in a situation where I'm ready to like end it all, or just like give up on the life path that I've chosen. So to me, art is it's like a safe haven. It's like a safe space, for real, for real. It's really important. I kind of thinking about it now, I will kind of compare it to like religion in a sense, and a faith, at least for me. I'm spiritual, and so like um the idea of God and what God means to me, I tie it into art a lot. And so I feel like when I do art, I kind of like talk to God in a sense. And so it's also kind of like that. It's like, yeah, it's what I put my faith into, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Can you tell
Yeah.
me about a time in your life where art or your ability to create art, it saved you?
Yeah. So it's kind of funny because it's like right now, kind of, like trying to survive and live. Art is like helping me put money on the table and like feed myself. So right now it's kind of a big deal, but also a lot in college. There were times where I don't know, college is really heavy and really stressful. And so there were times where I'd go through like spells of depression. And so I would rely on art to take me out of those dark places. I remember one time, like, I was talking to my advisor, and I was considering like taking a semester off just because I was just dealing with a lot, and my parents didn't encourage me to do it because they thought that like if I were to take one semester off, that like I would not want to come back. And so I ultimately wasn't able to get that semester off. And so during that entire time, I was just like, I don't know, I was just in a really like dark space that like really made me kind of forget who I was, and almost made me forget like why I was doing what I was doing. There were just like a couple projects that I had taken on that really kind of like changed my perspective on like life, and how to just look at opportunities when things don't always go your way, and just how to kind of like adjust your mood to things. And so yeah, art, it's saved my life plenty times, for real. So as a Black artist, I feel like it's my responsibility to convey the Black experience, and that's ultimately always going to be the case as long as I create as a Black artist. But I feel like there's a stigma that Black art has to always be, it always has to be serious, or it always has to kind of like speak on a time that brings us back to like just something tragic. And so with my work, I think I'm trying to find a balance between like conveying like positive experiences as a Black man, and while also like addressing the realities of what it is to be Black in America. My role as an artist is to do a bit of both. It's really to just communicate messages, but I don't want to communicate just one side of a particular message, if that makes sense. So sometimes I think that being Black puts meaning behind some of my work when it doesn't always have deeper meanings. And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I do think it hinders viewers sometimes from fully enjoying work. And so I think as a Black artist, I don't know, it's not frustrating, but it's just kind of one of those things that I have to kind of keep in mind while I'm creating. Because I recently just posted a comic, and I had a follower had commented on it, and they were explaining to me how it was distasteful with like what's going on right now, and like it just seemed like I was like just trying to get like a laugh. Ultimately, I was just trying to make work that was like relatable. And so like if you didn't find it funny, like that was okay. But if you did find it funny, like that's great, because at the end of the day, again, I'm an artist and I want to make people feel good. But if they don't feel good because of my work, that is also okay too, because I want to be able to create a dialogue and a conversation for me to learn from, and hopefully from like other viewers to learn from, and stuff like that. So yeah.
Okay, definitely. So, what does it mean to you to be a Black artist?
Man, that's tough. So, as Black artists, we have a role of documenting time, really, and like communicating the voices of specific time periods. Like, if we were to take race out of it, it's artists in general, but Black artists specifically, I think they have a more important role because of the fact that Black history is so not scarce, but like it's so unknown compared to the histories of like so many other cultures. And so it's important for the Black artists who are willing to share their work to at least be able to capture again the times that are going on now, because that is ultimately our history. So
Yeah.
we're integral to this progression as a people. It's mad important for artists to continue to just kind of put themselves out there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like even now, especially now, Black creatives and Black artists, like just being able to put their work out and use that to kind of just keep us all connected is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. What do you love most about the work that you do?
Man, I think I love my ability to I just really love my ability to convey my ideas. Like, even if they aren't the best ideas, or even if they aren't executed perfectly, I'm just glad that I'm able to literally just come up with an idea and like put it out. And I love when people are able to relate to it, or at least they're able to ask questions that allow me to help them better understand like what I was talking about. And I think I love seeing the progression, because I think I learn and I think I convey my knowledge the best through my art and when talking about art. And so when I have opportunities to work and I'm able to see my progression through the years or over time, I'm able to also see how and more, how much I've grown as a person and like as a thinker and just like in intelligence. I think that's what I love the most about art. It's like a time capsule.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Do you feel like it's been harder for you to create during this time with everything going on, or do you feel like this has kind of motivated you to create more?
It's a bit of a mix. Like it sucks because like with COVID being a thing and us having so much downtime, it's been like the perfect opportunity for me to really take advantage of like time to create. But when we have situations of police brutality or just like just Black people being murdered and it like innocently, it makes you it kind of puts like a cloud over your creative thinking. And there are days or periods where I don't want to create, but I also know that like these situations are perfect times for us to create. And maybe I shouldn't say perfect times, but like these are the times where artists are needed. Like I feel like creatives or people in general, I say that we're all superheroes, and I feel like in times of like tragedy or in times of change like this is when like the bat signal goes off for artists, and it's like, yo, we need your voices. People need us to translate how they're feeling. And so it's tough to create right now, but it's kind of it's one of those things that you kind of just have to work through. And I mean that's kind of how I work through like creative block anyway, by either taking a break or just working through it. Like even if they're not like finished pieces, just doodling or just keeping the creative juices flowing in any capacity is like how to get through these times of anguish, I would say.
Yeah. And so do you feel like your mental health affects your ability to create or vice versa?
Yes, definitely. So it's it's interesting how it works, because there'll be times where I'll be depressed and it doesn't allow me to create, and there'll be times where I'm like depressed and all I want to do is create. So I guess I try to use my mental health and just things that go on in my head as a tool. And though it's not the best tool or like the most desirable one, the fact that it's just like something that we all have to deal with, you might as well make use of it. So I try to use it as a catalyst for my like ideas, essentially. Like if I don't have a specific idea in mind, I'll just start writing my thoughts down, and then I'll create something from those thoughts, and then that'll end up being like a funny comic or something. And so I rely on like my stress and like all the so-called negative aspects of my life to create cool things.
Yeah, and they're definitely cool. Like I'm a fan, definitely.
Thank
you. Keep creating. What vision do you have for your work?
The biggest goal is Adult Swim, and I feel like I'll be able to work with them within the next year. Like I'm really pushing to like do something with them by before I turn 26. So I'm giving myself 2 years. But I would also love to like start like a YouTube channel or something and just create like my own content, and then like hopefully from there just kind of blow up and like either move on to like a streaming networks, or I don't know, television or something, depending on how technology advances.
Like, do you have a self-care routine? Like, how are you taking care of yourself in this time?
Yeah, so I write a lot. I write a lot. That's like my biggest way of self-care. And also like I've started to get into like affirmations. Like I have friends who try to send me like affirmations to say every morning and stuff. So I'm starting to get into that. But writing is like my biggest that's my biggest mode of self-care. Just like letting all of that like out and then like putting it away and being able to read it later after I've like overcome, those times. It feels really good.
Yeah, I like that. Well, can you tell everyone where to find you, like social media, website?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram at Malik Radford, all one word. And my website is malikradford.weebly.com. Check my work there. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Well, thanks so much. I keep thanking you, but thank you so much, Malik, for joining me.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was fun.